Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I am Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis. And supporting me on the pulpit today, I have two of my lovely team members, the wise and powerful Oz, and he's going to be our practitioner of the day, and Albertina Giuffre, better known as Tina, is going to be providing the music today. So I want to say, if you're here, please say hello. We don't have any way, or I don't have any way of seeing who's here, and it's always nice to know I have an audience. So please say hello, and then I know I've got people watching. You can also do watch parties. If you click on the watch party, you can watch this with your friends and make comments back and forth to each other. And also, today I'm going to be talking about, can you feel the love? Love is one of my favorite topics. And so we're going to delve into that one quite a bit today. All right. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
The presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Oh my goodness. Surely the presence of God. I just love that song. I want to let you know that this next song is actually Fairy Elaine Silver she's the first one that gave us permission to use her music. And we've actually been using We Are All One for a very long time in our church, probably since like 2000, something like that. But if you know the words to this song, sing along, sing it loud and sing it proud, because only your spouse will know.
We are all one, we are all one, we are all one in it. I hear it and know it my being. Spirit is all I am seeing, for God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night.
having technical difficulties on our end, just so I'm answering hello to everybody. Faith can't answer. Now she's in, so I think she can. But hi, everybody who said hello. We really appreciate it. And so if you haven't said hello and you're here, please say hello so we know who's here. Also, if you like something that you hear either in the music or something I say, you can always do the thumbs up. Let us know that you like it. And if you love something that I say, or you love something in a song that we're doing, just do the heart. We love to get loved. And of course, there's the wow button. And that is if we really inspire you, if something we say really strikes you hard. I want to introduce this first song because it was originally done from, Dawn is in Florida, headed home. Hi, Dawn. I hope you enjoyed your trip. All right, so this next song was originally written by Elton John, and then was it The Lion King? Is that what then it was reproduced on The Lion King, but I love this song. So here's Tina.
There's a calm surrender to the rush of day. Then the heat of a rolling wind can't be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless world just to be with you. Can you feel the love tonight? It's where we are. The love is wide-eyed wonder that we got this far. Can you feel the love tonight? It's laid to rest. Enough kings and vagabonds leave the very best. There's a time for everyone if they only learn that the twisting kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors. From the heart of this star-crossed voyages, peace in time with yours. Can you feel love tonight? It's where we are. It's enough. Wide-eyed wonder that we got this far. Can you feel love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough. Kings and vagabonds leave the very best. It's enough. They kings and vagabonds Lead the very
Thank you, Tina.
I know that God is here right now, for God is all there is in all places at all times. It is what moves and breathes and lives us at each moment. That loving presence is who each one of us is. That one great source, that one great power that animates all of creation. I feel it now within me, and I know you can feel it too, for it is who you are as well. It is who all and each and every one of us is, animating us as its one perfect being unfolds through time and space. I know this presence blesses and enriches our lives. And for this, I give great thanks, and I let it be so. And so it is.
And so it is. See you on the other side. So one of the reasons that I had Tina do that song, because I love that song so much, is because a lot of times we have such difficulty feeling love. And I think I spoke a couple weeks ago about Princess Diana. Like 2.9 million people tuned in to her wedding to see her, to celebrate her getting married. And I don't know how many millions actually tuned into her funeral to grieve her. And, you know, if she doesn't, you know, the Earl of, what was it? I can't remember his name now. The Earl of, I think I've got it here. Her brother is the Earl of Spencer, said she never felt loved her entire life. And I thought, oh my God, 2.9 million people tuned in to see her get married and she didn't feel loved. And I mean, honestly, how many millions of people tuned in to watch her funeral and grieve the loss of her and she never felt loved? And I thought, God, you know, if she doesn't feel loved, is it any wonder that any of the rest of us have challenges with it? Because we don't have 2.9 million people tuning in to our wedding or our funeral or, you know, let alone, you know, any of it. And so I started thinking about what it is that keeps us from feeling loved. And the first thing is that we focus so much attention on the other person that we begin to feel unloved. We give them the power to allow us to feel love or to make us feel loved, but we also give them the power to take that away. And it's a very interesting idea that power has, so when we give our power to someone else for that purpose, we lose the ability to be able to feel the love that's coming in our direction. The second thing is we're not in love with God and we're not allowing God to love through us. So today I'm going to be talking about, you know, focusing our attention on ourselves and God. Well, God first and then ourselves, instead of focusing on the other person. But I want to ask you a question. Can you feel the love right now? The love that sustained Lynn and I through the School of Ministry, the love that created and sustained this center the last 20 years, the love that continues to build this community and to grow it, the love that is here, present all the time, whether we're sitting in a facility or we're sitting at home watching this on Facebook Live. See, that's the love of God, and I know that. Science says that the gravitational force is what makes the world go round, but I know it's love. I love that song, Love Makes the World Go Round, because it's so true. The gravitational force would have absolutely no power in this world if it weren't for love, the love of God. So I like to focus on that, not the love of people, but the love of God making the world go round. I remember when 9/11 struck, Oz, you probably remember that. I don't know if you were part of the congregation then, Tina. But we met that night at the church, and we were focusing all of our attention on love and being open to the love of the world. Everybody else was all angry and focused on hate. And so we just sort of made it our deal to just focus on love every moment of every day. And all the practitioners gathered, all the members of the church gathered, and we did a circle and we just focused our attention and our intention on that love. And what was really interesting was shortly after that, because we met, I don't know, what was it, 3 nights in a row, I think. And what was really interesting is to watch it unfold as the world poured out its love and came together in communities. Countries came together to try to find solutions. And I watched that love happen right there before my very eyes. It was fascinating. And I think, as I think about what's going on in the world right now, the same thing is happening with COVID-19. We started out pretty much being in fear and panic, and then we started to howl to let each other know that we're still in the world and that there is a community and that we are part of that community. And we began to appreciate the frontline workers, the essential workers. And we started to express our gratitude. And here at the Oasis, we really focused our attention on that for the first at least 4 Sundays that I was doing this. We were really focused on that gratitude and appreciation for all of life, not just the frontline workers, but knowing that, the person who's driving a car or the person who's walking down the street, that we're grateful that there are people in the world, and we're grateful that there are well people in the world. And as I watched, all the countries are coming together now to find solutions, both in medication that treats the disease, but also in vaccines. And we're sharing that information across countries. And so I think I'm watching the manifestation of that. Not that I'm personally responsible for it. I'm just saying there was enough of a momentum in the world that everybody was focused on appreciation and gratitude and howling. When Faith told me they were howling in my neighborhood, I'm like, no, they're not. And I actually sat out in the garage one day and I heard it. And I was like, oh my God, we are doing it in our neighborhood. But when you think about how that caught on, everybody was doing that because we all wanted everybody to know we're still here. Like, we're still part of you. We're still one, and it was great. So I want to talk a little bit about that today, about what it means to actually feel the love of God and allow God's love to flow through us, and how to practice self-love. So what is it in us that makes us feel like somebody else has the power to allow us to feel loved, or to make us feel loved, or the power to take it away? What do you think it is? It's that part of us that thinks we don't deserve it. It's that part of us that thinks that whatever happened in the past is still happening. Have you ever played a record over and over again until it starts skipping? And it keeps going to the same spot over and over again. It just repeats and repeats and repeats. Well, I kind of think our brain works that way. I like to think of our brain as like a media device, like a CD or a disk drive. And, there's the subjective mind. It is this disk drive that has everything stored in it. Everything that's ever happened to us, everything we've ever thought, everything we've ever felt. And when we want to recall something, we just go to that disk drive. But sometimes it gets stuck in that one thing, like it skips and it goes right to that spot all the time. And you hear it over and over and over again, that self-talk that you're not loved. So you hear this in your head: you're not loved. You're not loved. You are not loved. You are not loved. And it gets louder and louder and louder and repeats itself so many times. You've heard me talk about how affirmations create grooves in the brain, and that's how effective, affirmations are. We're born, we kind of have this, like, I don't know, it's not like a cue ball. People get mad at me for saying it but it's smooth like that. And then as we grow and as we develop and as we learn, there are grooves that develop in the brain. And as that happens, you have more ready access to the information. That's how, like, driving a car becomes second nature, because we've created the groove in the brain that says this is what it means to drive a car. This is what you have to do. And so it becomes on autopilot. Well, that's the same thing that happens to us with love, because we're hearing this: you are not loved, you are not loved, you are not loved. And it just keeps repeating, and the groove gets deeper and deeper. And then we go out in the world, and the world feeds back to us what we've been saying to ourselves. And so we're in this feedback loop, which makes the grooves even deeper. And it's very difficult to get ourselves out of the grooves of that, because we've told ourselves that too many times. And so now we have to practice self-love. So we have to do things to counteract that. We need to put something else into the disk drive that is going to allow us to feel that love that we have for ourselves. Now, you may think you don't have that love for yourself, but you really do. It's just that you don't have ready access to it because you've been listening to that tape play over and over and over again that you are not loved. So, I have a couple of ideas for you on how to practice your self-love. Ernest Holmes says, if you want a friend, be a friend. And so we were in this class one time at the church, and we were discussing that exact quote from Ernest Holmes. And as we were discussing it, somebody was saying, that they were having a hard time finding love. And one of my students, brilliant, one of my students said, well, if you want to, have love, you have to be love. And she started talking about how when you're in love, the world falls in love with you and everybody wants you. But when you're not in love, when you are not in love with yourself, especially, but also if you're not in love with God, then what happens is there's this desperation that hangs on you like cologne, bad cologne, and it drives people away. So we started talking about that, and I started thinking about that, what we would need to do to be in love. We court God, obviously, like I've talked about before, by doing meditation and visioning. We court a relationship with God, but we also need to understand that the love of God comes through us. And so what we need to do is to practice courting God's love. We need to allow ourselves to feel it and to be appreciative of it and grateful for it, but also to let it sink in that we are love, that that's who we are. And once we fall in love with ourselves or we fall in love with God, I think you have to be both. I think you fall in love with God first, and then you fall in love with yourself because God comes through you. But when you understand that you're made of God, who is there not to love? I mean, we can't even look at the idea of God and say there's some place where God is less than or doesn't deserve love, or we can't look at it that way. Well, if we're made of God, if we're made in the image and likeness of God, then it follows that there can't be any place within us that isn't lovable. You get it? Like it's such an interesting thing. I had this practitioner in my church one time, and she was on this board of a association for her condo unit, and this person was driving her crazy, and she kept saying, I kept saying, you need to learn to love her or she's going to continue to drive you crazy. I don't want to love her. And I'd say, well, you don't really have a choice. You kind of have to love her to get past all of this. I don't love her. I hate her. And I was in meditation one day, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it came to me that we don't love someone like that by focusing our love on them. What we do is we allow God's love to pour forth from us, and we look at that person as a being of God, and we love the God in them. And as soon as I told her that, she's like, well, I can do that, and it changed the relationship she had with this person so much that they later became, I wouldn't say friends. Friends is probably too strong of a word, but they were able to work together on projects, and things worked out okay. But it was only because she was willing to see her as an expression of the love of God, and be able to have God love God. Let God in me loves the God in you. That's what namaste means, by the way. So anyway, and then there was this other story that I came across that was about this lady that had a colleague that she just had this gut reaction to this guy. Like, she could not stand him. She couldn't bear to even look at him. And one day she finally thought, I really needed, because they would pass in the hallway and like turn away from each other. It was that bad. And there was this like Cold War that was there. And she said, I really need to be able to work with this guy. And she came upon something that was talking about sending hearts to the person. And so she visualized herself sending hearts to him all the time, 24/7. She would just send hearts, send hearts, send hearts. And so one day, after months, it's not going to happen overnight. Just so you know, it is not going to happen overnight. But one day he was walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden he turned to her and he said, "Why, you look really beautiful today." And then just walked away. And she was like, "Yeah, I feel beautiful." And then she realized and kind of had to chuckle to herself that all of that time that she was sending heart love to him, what she was doing was creating a space in which it was okay for them to talk to each other. And that she was focused on God love coming through her, sending the hearts to the God love in that guy. So it improved their relationship. And, you know, it's not that we change others. That's really not what happens. What happens is we change that part of us inside of us that has resistance to that person. And it opens up a pathway between us and them. So it's not that you're changing their behavior. It's not that you're changing their personalities. All you're doing is creating that opening, that pathway to allow God to love through you to them and from them to you. You open that pathway and it just allows that to happen. Now, they're always at free choice. They can choose not to accept the love hearts, not consciously, obviously. He didn't know what was going on. But unconsciously, we have that pathway that's there. And if we open that pathway, we allow that other person to be able to see us as God intended for us to be seen. And so when I talk about loving or being in love with God, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Because everybody in the world is a mirror for us. Now, okay, I'm going to ask you a big favor. Don't ever, please, say to somebody else, I'm just being a mirror for you. The last time somebody said that to me, I almost slapped him upside the head. If I wasn't a minister, that would have been what happened. But I just held back and kind of went, it's not very pleasant when someone says that. If you are irritated by someone else, please understand that it is your stuff because they do what they do. I'm saying not they're right for doing it. What I'm saying is they do what they do. And my reaction to what they do is mine. And if I'm reacting to it, it means that they are mirroring back to me a place within me that is not healed, that needs that healing work. And so as we go through life, we understand that people show up to show us all the parts of us that are unloved by ourselves. And remember that you focus more of what you turn your attention to. And so when we turn our attention to what we don't like in the other person, we're going to create more mirrors to show up for that, because it's what we don't like in ourselves that they're showing up to show us. So if I focus my attention on that, I'm going to create more mirrors to show up in my life. We call those master teachers, by the way. And I hated hearing that. I will tell you, I hated hearing that. Oh, he's just a master teacher for you. Really? Okay. But at some level, I knew that they were right. And I always had to admit later that they were. Because the people who have challenged me the most, the people who have been really a bug under my skin, are the ones that have taught me the greatest lessons about loving myself and letting go of the things that, because if somebody says something and you react to it, you are either afraid that it's true or it's something you've thought about yourself for a very long time. And so they show up, they say it, they're unconscious about it. They don't even know they're saying it. And here you are reacting to it, and they're like, they're oblivious because they never intended to hurt you. They were just saying what was in their heart or their mind. Some people don't have any filters. But the reality of it is if I respond to it, it's mine. It isn't theirs. And so, and again, please, please, please never say to somebody, I'm just being a mirror for you. Honest to God, you will not get any purchase on that because the person will never hear what you're saying. They will just react and go away and never speak to you again. Or you might get slapped upside the head. I don't know. I was in that position where I just had to like sit there and grin and bear it. But not everybody will do that. But please understand that we are mirrors for each other. That's what our function here is in the world. And so we look at those mirrors and we blame them for the thoughts and feelings we're having. And it's not them. They're willing to stand in the projection of our shadow to show us what needs to be healed. There was a book in the 80s that was called The Teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda. And he was talking about how people are only able to poke into us because we have holes in our field. So if you've had something happen to you in the past, for example, a relationship that's gone wrong, or Maybe you lived in poverty for a while, or maybe you had a health challenge or something like that, and you never healed the gaping sore that it caused, that experience caused. Because, we store all of that information in our bodies. I do a NAET, and one of the things about that is that we've stored an emotion in an organ. And so the process of clearing those traumas is really a process of releasing. But the interesting part about that is that we have a hole somewhere in our chakras that is there because of that trauma. And somebody unknowingly, again, nobody does this consciously. I don't think most people, reach out and try to hurt people consciously. I mean, there are people like that in the world, but 99% of the people are operating totally on the subjective level. So they don't even know why they're doing it. It's totally subconscious. And they will see or feel that hole, and they will crawl in there and make themselves at home right there. And that's what this shaman said to Carlos Castaneda. The reason these people have any entrance into your heart to hurt you is because you have this big gaping hole there. And if you don't close the hole, they're going to jump in and make room for themselves in there, and that's going to hurt. So when we realize that people are just mirrors for us, and they are showing us those places that need to be healed, then we have the power to change that for ourselves. Again, we're not going to be doing anything that will change their behavior or who they are, their personalities. We're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we're going to heal those places within us so they can find no purchase there. And one of the things is self-love. If I'm not practicing self-love on a daily basis, if I'm not really working at my self-love, then there's going to be holes everywhere. And people are going to find purchase there and perch like a bird inside those holes. So it's important to realize that when you're feeling that emotion of someone hurting you, you have to pull yourself back and realize that they're probably not trying to hurt you, that what instead is happening is they found one of those holes, and it's up to you to close that gap up. Now, one of the things about master teachers is sometimes they're friendly, sometimes they're really good to have in your life, and sometimes it's kind of painful to have them in your life because they're going to keep pushing at you until you actually heal that. But I had one circumstance in my childhood that was pretty cool, actually. A number of years ago in the ministry, in the School of Ministry, we did this voice dialogue class where you talk to those various parts of yourself, because each person in your life represents a part of yourself. And so I called up my Aunt Peggy for some reason, and she was like the opposite of everyone in my family, really, honestly. She was like in her 70s. She wore tennis skirts, even though she had like really wrinkly knees, and in the summertime, she would wear furs because she liked how they looked on her. And she just didn't care what anybody thought of her, and whatever came out of her mouth, she had no filters whatsoever. Whatever came out of her mouth came out of her mouth, and she just didn't give one iota what anybody thought of her. And so I, as a child, grew up in a family where I got a lot of conflicting messages about what people thought of me. And I never understood exactly, like one day I'd be this wonderful child and the next day I'd be this horrible hellion, And so I never got consistent messaging about myself until I ran into my Aunt Peggy. Now, she wasn't an aunt, a blood aunt. She was an aunt by marriage. And it was really interesting because you always knew where you stood with Aunt Peggy. You always knew where you stood with her. And that was disconcerting for most of the people in my family. But for me, it was very calming and reassuring because I did always know that she accepted me exactly as I was because she accepted herself exactly as she was. And it taught me a very valuable lesson. But I didn't realize that until I did this voice dialogue. And in the voice dialogue, all of a sudden, I got what it was she was trying to teach me all of that time. She was really trying to show me that I had that within me as well, that I could be okay and be who I was And it didn't matter because because who I am is who I am. There's no good, bad, or indifferent about it. And that's probably, I think, the biggest challenge we have with our self-love is that we keep thinking that we need to be somebody other than that. I, for one, was a people pleaser when I was a kid because I really felt like I didn't know how to get the attention that I wanted. And I kept feeling like I had to do whatever anybody wanted me to do just so that I could feel that love. And believe me when I say that it didn't work, because when you're a people pleaser, you have now given them the power at any moment to change their mind. And when they change their mind, they can pull their love away from you, and then you feel unloved instead of feeling loved. So I always enjoyed Aunt Peggy, but now I got the lesson that it sticks with me. Like in the self-esteem class that I teach, we talk about this, that self-esteem is like two opposite ends of one stick. With, you can beat somebody with it, or you can reach out and allow them to save their life with it. And that, you have on one side of the stick, you have compliments, which makes people feel good. On the other side of the stick, you have complaints or conflicts. You have somebody's saying something to you and making you feel less than. And they can beat you with either side of that stick. So it's really important to know that the only place that's safe for you is the middle of that stick, the center of who you are. Because then neither complaint nor compliment is going to do anything. It is just going to allow you to feel a little good in that moment. But it doesn't make you who you are. It doesn't have any effect on the basis of your life, the center of your being. The center of your being is God, and God's love flows through you. So you can't be hurt by anything that they say. And you can't be improved by anything that they say. How do you improve on God? I had this one class one time. It was really funny. This, what is the word for that? Charismatic pastor was teaching this class, and our paper was due on how to improve on God. And, we religious scientists were just like, what? And it was very hard to write that paper, because if you start from the premise that God is perfect, then it's very hard to improve on God. And so all of us were like, well, God is perfect already. We can't make God more perfect. There's nothing we can do to change God. And what he was trying to point out to us, and what finally came as a result of our struggling with this material, was that instead of us being made in the image and likeness of God, we believe that we have made God in the image and likeness of people. And so we have believed all this time that God was either like a white guy with a white beard and white hair in these long flowing white robes up in the sky somewhere that passes judgment on us. And when we made God in the image and likeness of that, it made it very difficult for us to feel loved. It really wasn't, if you look at the Bible, it really wasn't until Jesus that God's love was talked about. Up until that point, it was about retribution. It was about judgment. It was about smiting those that came out against the Israelites. And then you get to the New Testament, and you get to Jesus' teachings, where God is about love. And when you get to that place, it's very hard if all this time you've been looking at this judge and saying, yeah, well, if I don't do right, I'm going to be judged by God, and I'm going to, whatever your particular thing is. Like, the Jewish religion didn't believe in heaven and hell. They taught that, this is the life you have, period, done and over with. And the Christian faith believes that you go to either heaven or hell. And then the Buddhists believe that heaven and hell is a state of mind here on earth. And that's pretty much what we teach. That, if you are experiencing a life of hell here on earth, it's of your own doing. It's of your own making. That it's not, that you are good so you can go to heaven, or you have to be afraid of not being bad so you don't go to hell. We teach that you can create that state of consciousness here and now. And so if you are in hell on this earth, then you can always allow yourself to feel heaven here. And how you do that is by recognizing that God's love flows through you, that you are made in the image and likeness of God, and that is what is powerful. That's what lives in you and breathes in you. That's the heart that beats within you. That is you. Who and what you are is God. Now, you're not all of God, but all of you is God, if you look at it that way. And so, so when we're talking about love in particular, it is very important that we remember that it's God's love that flows through us, and it's God's love that we see in that other person. I don't have to, as a personality, love you. What I have to do is I have to sit in the presence of the love of God, allow it to flow through me to you, and allow you to channel God to me. Because what we want to do is we want to cut that off. No, I don't like that person. No, I can't see God there. And God is present in all things, all people, all places, everywhere present all at once. There's no place that God is not. So if everything is made of God, and I've talked about this before, that quantum physics really backs this up. Like there is an intelligence that runs the universe, and everything is made of the same matter. And the only difference between me and this table is how rapidly all of those atoms, all those molecules bump up against each other. They're either really fast and they're solid, or they're really slow and it's more like water and fluid. And so when you think of everything in terms of that, then there can be no person out there that does not represent God. Am I 100% on this? No. Faith can attest to that. It's a struggle. It is. You have to be able to stop yourself when you get into that mode of being and say to yourself, nope, that is God expressing out there. Now, you don't point that out to other people. That is another one of those, I'm just a mirror for you incidents. Because people stop hearing you. What you think of me is none of my spiritual business. And so I can have those awarenesses and those ahas, but please don't you go out there and tell people that. You want them to be able to uncover truth for themselves. I have this really good friend, Bonnie Ellen Rice, Reverend Bonnie Ellen Rice, who used to teach us pastoral care and pastoral counseling. She was one of the very first pastoral, I can't even think of the word of it now. She would go into hospitals. She was one of the very chaplains. She was one of the very first chaplains in our movement. And she served in Long Beach back in the 70s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, when AIDS came about, and she worked in an AIDS hospital. And in her journey, what she uncovered for herself, and that's what she taught us, is that it's not about you counseling someone. It's about allowing them to tell their story enough times that they hear it themselves. Because once you hear your story as a story, you realize you have the power to change everything. And if someone is telling you your story for you, you're not going to listen. If they're being confrontive, you're not going to listen. You have to be the one to tell that story over and over again until you get tired of hearing it and are ready to make a change about it. And so when Bonnie Ellen Rice would meet with us in our retreats and our advances and talk to us about this, I suddenly realized why it was so hard to get out of that loop. And it's because we don't experience God's love through us. We experience those ideas, those traumas that have happened to us, and they become part of our body, and we just get caught in that loop, and we just keep experiencing them over and over and over again until we find a way to release them. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips today. on how to release those things. First of all, I want you to think about a part of your body that you might be holding something in. Now, like I have a thyroid disease, so I'm working with my thyroid right now. So you tune into that part of your body in meditation, and you ask that part of the body, what is the trauma that's located there? What have you adopted, I should say? What have you adopted and made part of us? What do I need to release in order to have my thyroid function perfectly? And then you ask that body part, what do I need to do to release that? What do you need to let go of that? And so you sit in meditation and you do this often enough, and your body will answer you. You will get a visual. If you're a visual person, you'll get a visual, or you might get an answer, just pops in your head. That's what I usually get. Or you might get an actual word or several words or a sentence that you hear. However you get the information, it's reliable. You might even just get a feeling. I'm a big feeler, so I get a lot of feelings, and then I have to think about it and interpret what they mean to me. But you might get that information any one of those ways, but the information is good. And you can release everything that has gone wrong in your body, one thing at a time, by just doing that simple meditation. It also tells your body that you love it, that you are interested in hearing what it has to say to you. Now, self-love isn't always about the body. We can exist. We can have a body and exist, but it's the mind that actually is the power behind the body. We couldn't exist without consciousness at all. We couldn't exist. And so when you realize that, when you are working with that material, what you're saying is, I love you and value you enough to hear what you have to say, whether that's the body, the mind, the emotions, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to heal. When you say to yourself, I care enough to listen, then your entire being starts to understand that you're loving yourself. And that's really truly what it is. Like if you go to a movie and, you're watching the scene before you and the scene makes you cry, you're in the moment as if it's happening to you right then and there, but it's not. It's on the movie screen. But the mind doesn't know the difference between it happening on the movie screen and real life. So when you are willing to listen to your body and you are willing to release whatever it is, your mind doesn't know the difference between actually doing, like going to the doctor and getting something taken care of, or you healing it within your mind. There's no difference. It is all the same thing because the mind is the powerful thing here. I had this one friend who had her pelvis crushed in an accident in California years ago. And I said, and she was still in pain like a year and a half later. And I said, you need to go to my acupuncturist. And she said, well, I tried acupuncture in California and it didn't work. And I said, well, okay, so I'm willing to pay for your first appointment with my acupuncturist, but I have one condition. And that is you have to be open to the healing. Because if you close off to that healing, she's not going to be able to do anything for you. But as long as you're willing to stay open, I will pay for that first appointment. And then from then on, you can pay her. Well, she went in and she actually did experience a healing from the acupuncture because she opened herself to it. Because the mind is that powerful. If I close myself off and say, nope, that's not going to work, it won't. But if I open myself to the possibility, you don't even have to open yourself to it's absolutely going to happen. You just have to say, I open myself to the possibility that this will work. Then the mind will take care of it. So that's one thing. In meditation, you're going to ask that body part that you want to heal, what the trauma is, what the whatever experience it's holding, and how you can release it. What do they need in order for it to be released? Second thing, you're going to write on your mirror, preferably with dry erase markers, so you can get it off your mirror when you want to. But you're going to write on your mirror, I am enough. Because I want you to see that every time you go to the mirror. And I want you to keep it there for like I don't know, 21 days, they say, is what it takes to form a habit. So if you're habitually looking at I am enough, and you allow yourself to say it to yourself when you see it, and you're habituating that for 21 days, then it will become a habit. The groove in the brain will be dug deeper, and it will become second nature to you to recognize that you are enough. My favorite affirmation that I've ever done is, I have enough, I am enough, I do enough. Because the truth is, those are the places that keep us from being able to feel like we are enough. The third thing is, I want you to write a list of all the things about yourself that you like. It's hard. Well, it's not hard. It's simple, but we have such resistance to that. If you've ever tried to make a list such as that, you will find that it's very difficult for you to find 20 things about yourself that you like. And I'm going to ask you to do that every night for 7 days. I want you to write down 20 things you like about yourself. You can repeat yourself as much as you want. Even if you say, I like my body, I like my body, I want you to write 20 things. But I want you to try and find those 20 things instead of just writing the same thing over and over again. What that does is that tells your emotional body that there is something lovable about you. You see, we don't have to earn that. Everybody is lovable. The only thing that keeps us from believing that we're lovable is that we don't love ourselves. So all three of these things are going to teach you to love yourself, and for your mind and your body and your emotions and your spirit and your soul to accept that you are enough, that you love yourself. And we're going to practice self-love as often as possible this week. Will you join me with that? Let's have a prayer. Oh, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I right now move into the awareness of God as all there is. All there ever has been, all there ever will be, and all there is right here, right now. I see God everywhere, in everything. It is so nice to see the world through God's eyes. As the birds chirp and the bees buzz and the flowers and the trees grow and the breeze moving through the trees just reminds me how simple and easy God's flow of life is. Just as when I go to the ocean and I experience the beautiful negative ions that the ocean waves bring me, when I sit in that feeling of God, when I see it and I hear it everywhere, when I acknowledge that God is simply all there is, I know that that is the power within me. It is who and what I am. My very life, my very essence, my very being. And God's love flowing through me is what makes the world go round. For it is who and what I am, God's love, God's power, God's presence, God's being. The heart of God beats within me. The life of God lives in me. The beingness of God is me. God in me, as me, is me. I know the same truth to be so for my one team in God, Faith and Oz and Tina and Lynn. For we really are one in the mind of God as the team of God, creating so much as God creates through us, as God lives its way through us, as God experiences this physical realm through us. I know the same truth to be so for each of you that is listening today, or even later. For there is no place where one of us leaves off and the other begins. We are all one in that infinite power, that infinite presence of God. And it is that oneness, that beauty within, that is God, that bursts forth this coming week. I bless this week because I do know that as we practice self-care and self-love, that God's love shines through so perfectly, amazingly, and yet not amazing at all, because it is the natural point of life. So I claim that for us. I declare it as good and very good, as I claim it for every name that is in the ministry of prayer today, this week. Because I do know that whatever challenge anyone is experiencing, God is the answer. God flows through that experience, through that situation. And anything unlike that just dissipates back into the nothingness from which it came. For God is simply that, all that there is. And I move right now that curtain, that veil that keeps us from seeing that power and that presence behind the condition. I declare it, I receive it, I open to it, and I call it good and very good, as I sit in gratitude to know that it is done. And so it is. Amen. Okay. Let's see, where am I? I'm back. So right now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to be grateful for that which has already come to you in physical form, and that which you have created in mind already, but you haven't necessarily seen in physical form yet. It's on its way, I trust, I promise you. And so take a moment right now to go to oasiscsl.org. And on that page, you are going to find, right on the front page, about middle of the page, you're going to find a picture of Tina and the gang as we were a choir back in the old days. And there will be an offering affirmation there that I'd like you to say with me. And that, at this point, if you're watching this later, pause, go to that site. Actually, you don't have to pause. Just go to that site. And then you can say the offering affirmation with us. So please join me in that. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. Tina?
Children are teach them well and let them lead them well. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them the sense of pride. Make it easier. Let the children's life remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who could fill my need. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on you. I decided long ago never to run in anyone's shadow. If I fail, I succeed. At least I live as I believe. No matter what they say from me, you can't take away my dignity. Because the greater love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love, the love of all inside of me. The greatest love is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty that possessed inside. Give them the sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long never to run in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what it is of me, it can't away my dignity. Because the greater love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. God says that special that you really know. Leads you to a lonely place. Find your strength in love.
Ooh, thank you, Tina. That was beautiful. The greatest love of all. See you on the other side. So I forgot to tell you to click on the contribute now button. You say the offering affirmation, then you click on contribute now. And we ask that you do contribute with the idea or with the intent that we're all participating in getting this message out to the world. We do have a worldwide audience, but we'd like to grow it. So please, with that intention in mind, click on the contribute now button and give from your heart. Okay. So we have a ministry of prayer, a wonderful ministry of prayer, where we treasure the requests so much. And we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast that will pray on those requests every day for a week. So if you would like prayer for a specific thing and you feel comfortable doing so, put the specific thing in the comments. If not, you can private message any one of us, and we will get it, put it on the page for you. We have a private group page for the prayer requests. And our God Squad, that's what we call our licensed team of practitioners. Our God Squad will pray on those every day for a week. And they're available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance as well. But if you don't feel comfortable, direct message us and let us know what it is you would like us to pray for. Oz is our practitioner of the day, so he will be available by appointment, or he'll be available after the service for a 1-minute miracle, which is not a time for a counseling, but it is a time where you can share whatever experience you're having, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. And if he doesn't answer right away, if you do a video chat with him and he doesn't answer right away, please know that he's praying with someone else, and so come back a little bit later and try again. And if you book an appointment with any of our practitioners, they will initiate a video call with you so that they can pray with you. So if you would like prayer, again, put the issue in the comment or DM us about that. If you would like to participate in our God Squad, you don't have to be a licensed practitioner of religious science. So you can type yes if you are willing to make the commitment. Make the commitment to pray every day on those requests for a week and follow through on that. I want to let you know that we also have a public group page that is for more. If you want to type more in the comment, that is for anyone who would like to know ahead of time when our services are and that kind of thing. Any events we might be having. I will be teaching classes, accredited class or certificated classes, starting probably sometime in September. So if you would like to be on that list, please type more in the comment section and Faith will get you added to that group. Brooks Limited, Brooks Ltd, is where you can find some really exotic masks. She's doing some wonderful work. This beautiful one that I saw is white and it had like bows right here and then scarves that came down. I mean, come on, it's just beautiful, right? Also, I want to say, check out Brooks and Bailey. If you would like a mandala. Oh, where'd my Brooks and Bailey go? There it is. If you would like a mandala or a bracelet, she does great work and it benefits the Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. It's Brooks and Bailey 0307@gmail.com, and I think Faith has already put that in the comments for you. I want to give a shout out to both Fairy Elaine Silver and Karen Drucker for providing music for us all the time. Karen Drucker has gifted us with her entire collection, which is like 20 albums. And we are tithing to her, but I would appreciate it if you'd go on her website and buy CDs from her. We like to support those who support us, and she has all kinds of wonderful music. So everything from chant CDs to sing-along music to just songs, regular songs. Matter of fact, we did a couple of them last week. And Elaine Silver has the same situation, although her website, she's unable to update it. So if you would buy her CDs, you're going to need to email her and find out where to send that check. I made the mistake of sending it to the address listed on the website. Check out our website at www.oasiscsl.org because we have all kinds of the current sermons, videos, and past sermons from long ago that are just audio. So check us out. Also check out our practitioners, see if you connect with one or more of them. And I invite you to sing along with I Am So Blessed if you know this song, if you know the words to this song. It helps just put you in that space. Here we go.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And I remember the oneness of God, that God is all there is, right here, right now. And I celebrate my oneness and everyone's oneness in that all I see and all I experience is a manifestation of this one source, this one energy, this one perfection that is God. I give thanks that it's so, and I let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. All right. Thank you for being here with us today. We know there's 1,000 places you could be on a Sunday morning, so we're glad that you were here with us. Tune in next week and every week to join us for the Sunday celebration. Stay safe. We love you. Bye for now.
Bye.